We are now live. Sorry, Stephen, I should have told you this, but don't worry,
You
Subtext has
should have.
just come live. Good
Hello,
afternoon,
Substack.
everyone. You can hear Stephen,
You can hear me. I can hear me. And that's really all that counts, right?
and me too.
Because obviously, if I can't hear you, then we won't have a really good chat. But thank you so much for joining in. I know we are a tad late. And speaking of late, I know that if you just got a blast of emails from us, both on the podcast as well as on the newsletter, we apologize. Not entirely our fault. It's Substack's fault. If you are watching Substack founders, I, I mean, great update. I love the new interfaces and everything, but two of the things that we schedule, as a matter of fact, it's really, really funny and ironic because Stephen literally said that it will go up on Thursday, and it was supposed to be up on Thursday, but it wasn't. But not to worry, we are here to fix things and to please you. Uh, that's our purpose, right, Stephen?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we're here for.
Awesome. And speaking of purpose and aim of this podcast today, we want to bring in a little bit. Last week, we spoke about something that is quite technical, scientific, legal, and heavy. It is very important because every day we are being bombarded with new diets, new supplements, new trend. And the reason why I'm doing this, the reason why Stephen is doing this, aside from, bringing you pleasure, is also to cut through the noise and cut through all the hypes and give you what you need to know, especially when it comes to your health and well-being, because it is really important what you do, what you put into your body, what you inject into your body, that you know. At the very least, if nothing at all, you need to know all of the information, all the facts before you make that decision.
I think also, Vincent, some of the questions that we've had in the newsletter uh, are around how do you make sure that when you're putting the right things into your body, they're actually doing what you hope them to do.
Yes.
So, how many supplements do you need to take? That was covered in the newsletter. Really interesting response. Thank you for that. I learned something as well, which is important. But also, I think we probably should talk a little bit about preparation of some foods. One of the topics that we were thinking about for today was preparation of particular foods in the kitchen and some of the things that you can do to make sure that you get the nutrients out of those foods that you're aiming for, but also so you don't make yourself sick. So I
Yeah.
think in this episode we should talk about food safety, maybe a little bit about kitchen skills. I like really sharp knives, and there are some good reasons for that I hadn't really thought of. And then storage of food as well, I think, is also a pretty important sort of topic.
Yeah, and like always, I mean, Stephen is producing probably 60 to 70% of our podcast series and newsletter. And when you came up with the idea of how to sort of kind of tackle a few different topics, especially when it comes to inflammation, because
Mm.
more and more now, I mean, even last week, there were two new research that came out that confirm what we probably in the past 6 to 8 years, what we know now for sure that inflammation is either the root cause, the driver, or the trigger of 80% of our human diseases and disorders. So it's really important
Mm.
to tackle this topic, what we do in the kitchen, because we are literally what we eat. And there is, it's not just a saying that we say food is medicine, because 60%, eight to probably even 80% of what make up our body comes from what we eat, right? And this
Mm.
is something that we can control. We can't control pollution really,
Yeah.
because I mean that's well, well above our pay grade. We can't really control radiation. We can't really control exposure to certain stuff.
Yeah.
But fortunately, luckily, with a little bit of effort, we can control still what we
Mm.
put into our body.
Yeah. So, Vincent, talk to us about the kinds of vitamins and antioxidants, and when you say inflammation and and trying to avoid inflammation, uh, tell us really what do you mean? Is it not going outside, not subjecting yourself to weird foods that could make you sick? Is it keeping away from people? Uh, Talk to me about how I could avoid getting sick, specific to those. anti-inflammatories and using vitamins and antioxidants?
So I think to answer that question, which is a really great question, we have to go back a little bit to the definition of inflammation and what causes inflammation, what triggers inflammation. So inflammation is actually what I call a friendly fire. So it is one of the weapons, one of the arsenals of our body that can be deployed to either attack viruses, kill bacteria, and to trigger repair mechanism in our body.
Right.
But just like fire or weapon, when you lose control of this whole system and mechanism, it can backfire to your health. So the reason why people are so worried about inflammation is because every day, every second of the day, our body is battling viruses, bacteria. The reason why we don't get sick all the time is because our body is protecting us. Every single surfaces that we touch, every single person that we shake hand with, every time we exchange saliva while we're talking very, very closely, our body is protecting and shielding us from actually getting sick. And this employs inflammation. The issue is that in healthy body, in healthy cellular activity, whenever your body is done fighting the good fight, it can turn off the inflammation rate.
Okay.
The problem starts to arise is when your brain and your body loses control of this mechanism trigger. So the inflammation rate goes up and up and up, remain high, and it can cause a lot of issues. One of the issues is that it can start attacking our own cells. It can start attacking our healthy cells
So
because
that's that friendly fire.
that's a friendly fire.
Yeah.
And number two, inflammation can cause our hormonal system to be on high alert all the time. And when that happens, you start seeing stress and anxiety. It disrupts your circadian rhythm. It disrupts your immune system because just imagine if you have a security guard, which is what our immune system is, to be on high alert 24/7 without any rest, without any respite, then it will fail. It will come down.
Well, also it's going to impact your sleep. And we've spoken before about how important sleep is.
Well,
for
sleep is
example,
we can't we I don't know what the statistic the actual statistic is, but I think our body, I'm pretty sure the statistic goes like our body can last without food a lot longer. I think 3 times as long than it can without sleep. Like sleep is not just a reset, but it's basically the way that our body stays alive. So this is the reason why it's really, really hard to prevent inflammation. Without inflammation, without inflammatory response, I should say, we're dead.
Yeah.
So inflammatory response is a good mechanism. Inflammation is not. So when we talk about what we eat to reduce the inflammation rate, fruit and vegetables, they are packed with not only vitamins and minerals, proper hydration. It also helps with antioxidants, phytochemicals. This comes from the pigment, from the acid, from the all the components in the fruit and vegetables that back in the day were not necessarily considered as nutritional value. So this is the reason why back in the day, people don't really understand why certain colors and certain pigment in fruit and vegetables contribute to different types of disease prevention. They attributed scurvy and stuff like that to just vitamin C.
So vitamin C.
However, there are a lot more than that. So part of my research when I work with Australian Apple Growers Association was to to look beyond the vitamin C as well as the malic acid in apples. And that's when we discovered that Australian apples are extremely, extremely high in antioxidants. The reason why I mentioned that is because what caused that, what triggered that high content of antioxidant in Australian apples is because Australian apples, especially the growing area around Orange in New South Wales, the UV index rate is extremely high.
Okay.
Which means that to survive, the plants, the trees need to have their own mechanism in the form of producing more antioxidants.
Right. Wow.
And that's the reason why you start with really rich antioxidant apples, and coupled with my patented technology, you allow these antioxidants to be bioavailable in the body. it's very, very similar. The reason why there are a couple of reasons why grapes grown in different regions have different characteristics.
Mhm.
The terroir, which is the soil and everything, is one.
Yep.
But the climate and exposure to the sunlight, UV radiation, also make up that characteristic that people associate with certain types of region.
Wow. So I'm trying to think of which wine region produces the healthiest wine now.
Well, you have to be really careful because people who are wine connoisseur and wine master will come at me because tannin, which is part of the polyphenol
Mhm.
phenolic in grapes, is not always your best friend because
Okay.
obviously it needs to be in balance. And say, for example, in provincial style French rosé,
Mhm.
they need to really limit the skin contact exposure so that the end product, the rosé, is very, very light. Not to say it's unhealthy, it's just that it has lower content of the tannin,
Yep.
which is the phenolic antioxidants,
Okay.
as opposed to like a Shiraz, for example, which is you can taste and smell the tannin before even
Mm.
drinking a glass of it. So whilst from the antioxidant point of view, Shiraz type would contain a higher amount of phenolic antioxidants, that is not. I mean, I'm so glad that when I make the tablets and powders, I don't have to take into account the taste and everything because people don't do it for that purpose. I standardize it based on the phenolic content, which in grape,
Mm.
they take it to the next level because it's not just science, it's art.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like we probably should come back to the kitchen.
Yes.
though.
I don't know why I always end up talking about wine. But yeah, I even have my cheeses here.
You do. So back in the kitchen, you were talking about fruits and vegetables and other things that we can get vitamin C, B, and a number of other beneficial antioxidants from. But when we cook these foods, what happens? Because, like I've learned doing this podcast, that vitamin C and vitamin B are water soluble. So I'm guessing that when I cook a food, I'm cooking some of the water out of it. What does it do to that particular vegetable?
Two things. Everything that is being exposed to heat, not everything, almost everything that has been exposed to heat will degrade.
Okay.
So vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin everything, whether it's water soluble or oil soluble, fat soluble. Some of the things that people don't realize that, for example, when you boil vegetables, the water soluble vitamin will actually seep out to the water, and then obviously you throw the water, and then you're being left with the vegetables, which is great. It still contains some vitamins and minerals. It still contains the fiber,
Yep.
but you lose that. But
Okay.
this is one thing that people don't normally think a lot often about. Excuse me. It's not just when you're cooking vegetables or when you are baking the fruit. Even when you're cutting them, especially when you use blunt knife,
Yeah.
it makes a difference whether or not you're keeping and retaining most of the nutritional value. Because if you use blunt knife, it's not only about safety, because anyone who has spent time in the kitchen will agree that blunt knives actually
They're dangerous.
it's much
Really.
more dangerous compared to sharp knife because you put a lot more pressure, you lose your precision, you lose control. But when it comes to the nutritional value, just imagine, like, say, for example, let me take into as an example, capsicum or bell peppers if you're from the US. When you're slicing and dicing it, if it doesn't have enough sharpness, if your knife doesn't have enough sharpness, you're literally squishing
And so you're
the cells.
you're breaking the
You're
cells.
breaking the cells, and all of these juices that contains a lot of the vitamin and minerals just seep through. It doesn't even make it to the pan and pots. It literally on
You lose it on your board.
board. And not only that, once this cell structure and cell walls are being squished and broken, it exposes everything to air, to oxygen in particular, and oxygen oxidizes.
I see. Okay.
So
Wow.
it's not just for commercial purpose that we say that buy new knives or sharpen your knives,
Mm.
and for safety, obviously, because we're not selling knives. I don't know about you. But if you do place an order on renovatio.com.au, the first 10 orders, you'll get a free set of snake knives.
Really?
I am joking.
Look, I'm a huge fan of
Steak
sharp
knives?
knives.
Oh, sorry.
Of sharp knives, definitely. In fact, there are quite a few friends that I've given a set of knives to for their wedding or significant
That's
birthday.
ominous.
You know, though, that there is a rule around giving knives.
Tell me.
You should never receive knives for free. You should always pay for knives.
That is, you know what? The very same Sokana rule, unwritten rules, applies to shoes in Chinese culture.
Right.
Because when you give someone shoes, if you don't pay them even just $1 or 10 cents,
Yeah.
it's almost like you're giving someone something to make them walk away from you.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because in some African American culture, I've been told this, giving shoes to your significant other means that you're giving them means to stay and walk beside you. So again, this is take it with a.
We're culturally diverse here.
Yeah, I know. I know, right?
So always pay for your knives and just $1. That's
Yeah.
something like that. But a sharp knife will make the world a difference. Not only to now that I know that it impacts the healthiness or the ability to get the nutrients out of the food, but also it'll make your cooking much better.
Yes.
It'll be you'll find it easier. You'll enjoy it more. And if your knives are currently blunt, there are a whole lot of different ways to get your knives sharpened. Your
I'm listening intensely.
Saturday or Sunday morning market, there is almost always somebody there who will sharpen knives. And then the other thing that I will say, just as a home cook, is you'll probably have 3 or 4 knives that you use all the time. And spend some money on those knives. A good chef's knife really is worth its value.
And there's a knife for every occasion.
There is. Tomatoes have a knife which is
a little bit serrated. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, just so we can get through that skin, and so we don't mush the cells in the
and then
tomato.
destroy all of the vitamin C and the lycopene.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
so. That is. I will replace my knives.
Vincent, let's talk a little bit about the temperature and the oils that we might use while we're cooking. So we're in our kitchen, we've got our sharp knives, we've got all of our fresh fruit and vegetables that we know is going to make us healthier. But then we need to think about the heat that we're using and the oils that we're using. Do you have any thoughts?
So the oil, this is something that I think Chinese Asian people, especially those who are in Singapore or Indonesia or Malaysia, and the only reason why I mentioned these 3 subcultures or tradition of Southeast Asian nations is because I know this from live experience. We are, especially my mom, she is very, very concerned in particular about the type of oil as well as the temperature of oil and how clean your oil is. Because they always believe that even before she knew about all of the science and everything, and this is almost like something that's been passed through from, because my grandma was like that too. And at that time, there was no research or information about all of these substance that being created when oil is being heated past the smoking point.
Yeah.
So Indonesian food or Chinese Indonesian food are largely fried. Even when it's stir fried, there's an element of it that's being deep fried. So through trial and error and through experience, they know that when the oil is not at the optimal condition, it actually makes the end product, the end fried products, oilier, as well as it doesn't last longer in terms of the crispness and everything. So from a very, very young age, I know that you have to change your oil. And not only that, when there's this craze about switching to canola oil and olive oil, my mom always says that it is actually less healthy to fry with vegetable oil. Because we usually use pork lard or beef tallow. So before beef tallow is now back in vogue, we have been using it. We believe that because the smoking point is much higher.
Yeah.
So when you want to deep fry something to get that crispness, you have to reach that higher temperature. And the medium needs to be able to withstand that. It's almost like if you're going to hold a heated hot metal rod, if you're using a gloves or something that's made out of paper or plastic, obviously it will melt the gloves. You need the right oil to fry at a higher temperature.
Mm.
So this is something that a lot of people don't understand. They think that olive oil is automatically healthy.
Yep.
But not olive oil are created the same. Not because one is better than the other. Some olive oil are created as a finishing oil, as a salad dressing.
Yeah.
And that depends on the maturity of the olives when they extract the oil and
the process.
and the process. So usually extra virgin olive oil are not meant to be heated to a very high degree because that's your premium first press. There's a lot of phenolic antioxidant, there's a lot of phenolic acid, there's a lot of taste to it. All of these things will burn when you actually heat it up. So that's one. And number two, that my mom was also very obsessive about, is the charred outer layer of food. So my mom believes that the creation of that carbon during the charring process, during the grilling or baking process, attribute to the formation of cancer cells. It is not necessarily a direct link. However, the introduction of all of this substance can actually increase your risk of developing cancers. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors, but again, my mom's argument is that if I can reduce my risk from something that I can control, why wouldn't I?
Exactly. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Yes.
And I think that the use of different types of oil, I think that's a really key thing. I agree. I think that there are quite a few people who think that using an oil that sounds like it's healthier as an oil is going to be better for you. But in fact, if you're burning that oil while you're cooking it, if you hit the smoke point and
go beyond,
then actually you're potentially burning something that is then going to be harmful.
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research, and
yes,
Vincent, I like to do my research. So extra virgin olive oil typically has a smoke point around 200 degrees.
Yeah.
Refined olive oil is about 220.
Yes.
So that's extra virgin versus
the
refined olive oil. Sunflower, rice bran, canola, and peanut, around about 230.
Yes.
So much higher smoke points, and you're less likely to burn those oils. But then when I looked at some of the other oils and things that we use when cooking, butter, for example, is about 175 degrees.
Yes. It's a little bit higher when it's clarified.
Yep. And but ghee, which is
clarified
butter, so the milk solids have been removed. I didn't know that about ghee.
Really?
Yeah, no, I learned that yesterday. Ghee it really gets up there, about 240, 250. So that's why a number of the cultures that we've been talking about through Asia use ghee, because they can get the oil to a much hotter temperature.
And that was we're speaking about Indian cuisine, Indian cooking. That was not through years and years of research, because we were talking about something that has been their culture for many, many decades and maybe even many, many centuries. Yeah. They just found out that when you clarify the butter, it actually afford them to go higher in temperature. That's the reason why sometimes I feel that when and I'm speaking as a man of science, and you're an engineer, so you would relate to this too. Sometimes a lot of our people of science and engineers, almost automatically discount something that certain culture have done in the past for many, many years, because they were like, well, they didn't know the science. While that might be true, but probably through trial and error, what they have been doing is absolutely the right thing to do.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that if you read anything about potatoes, for example, if you're going to put potatoes in oil The oil needs to be of a high temperature.
Yes.
Otherwise, as you say, the potatoes will actually suck up that oil and trap the oil as
Yeah.
they cook, which is exactly what you don't want.
Yes.
Even when you're making glass potatoes, and anyone who hasn't made glass potatoes, look it up on the internet after they've listened to the podcast. Essentially, you cook the potatoes, often you boil them, and then you put them in a very hot oven with a little bit of oil, and then you smash the tops, and then you add more oil. But make sure that they are absolutely cooked through. You've end up with a potato which is sort of a little bit
Translucent.
hence the name glass potatoes. But also there's so much surface area because you've mushed them a little bit that they all crisp up and they're really bad for you, but really yummy.
Well, I do believe that potato, whilst a lot of people who are in my trade will hit the unfollow button, but let me just say that technically it is vegetable. So don't
Still a vegetable.
try to convince me otherwise.
Vincent, there are a couple of oils which I know of people talk a lot about using for their health benefits. And I don't want to labor the point too much, but I did want to finish up our little oil discussion. So I looked up avocado as well as some of the nut oils. And a lot of those oils really you should not cook at all. You should not heat.
Yes.
So macadamia oil is one of those. You can heat a little bit, but quite honestly, that is an oil that is designed to be a finishing oil or an oil in a salad or something like that. Please don't. I don't think any of our listeners are quite rich enough to be able to deep fry with macadamia oil, but it's a really good example of an oil that you shouldn't cook.
Yes, I actually have. Actually, it's not macadamia oil now that it comes in my mind. It's pine nut oil.
Yeah.
So that makes a really, really good mayonnaise
Fantastic.
because of the nuttiness and everything. It almost gives that. So you toast the pine nut oil first, and then you just blitz it to the point where it becomes oily. So I don't know if you know these people who are listening. When you blend or pulverize peanuts or nuts, first of all, it will crush them up, and then it will go to fine texture. And if you keep going, it will create nut butter. So with pine nuts, you create nut butter, and then you strain it out and you use that very precious oil. And then you make a small batch of mayonnaise with just egg yolk and apple cider vinegar, a pinch of salt, black pepper. That makes the best mayonnaise. And if you have that, I mean, if that would make the list on the final, meal that I will have on Earth.
That recipe is absolutely going in the newsletter.
My mouth is watering.
The only seed or nut oil that I found that you can heat to a little bit higher temperature is actually sesame. So there are a lot of chefs who use sesame, and there are a lot of dishes that use sesame, but only a very small amount.
And very quick.
Yeah.
So this is not something that you deep fry something in, but it can have like the very flash. I mean, if a lot of Chinese cuisine that uses wok, which is really, really high temperature, but flash point really fast.
Yeah. And not cooked for very long. Definitely.
Well, the other thing that I want to add to round up that thing before we move on to the other stuff that we do in the kitchen or during meal prep is container.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, we only think about the food, which is very important, but how we transport, storage, potential reheat our food, the container that our food reside in is very, very important, because more and more research now have shown that microplastic is not going anywhere. Literally, it resides in your body. It stays with you. Good for longevity. But yeah, this is something that as a parent, this worries me, because we rely a lot on plastics, especially when young kids are involved, because obviously you don't want to be safety issue, right? And also convenience. You don't want to be giving them a glass container.
True.
Because it is just not practical. So you resort to microwave safe plastic. But I recently learned that microwave safe plastic doesn't mean that it's safe for the food. it's safe for the
It's safe
plastic.
with plastic.
Yes. So, like, I mean, how beholden are we to plastic, Stephen?
Look, it is everywhere. We can't get away from plastics. It's part of our everyday life and has been for a long time. I think though that you can make good choices when it comes to plastic. So I tend to try to store leftovers in glass, if that's possible. Sometimes it's not convenient. Glass can be very heavy, and again, if you've got children, you don't necessarily want kids climbing into a fridge to pull a piece of glass down on themselves. That's bad. Pyrex has been a very popular glass product for a long time. It's a little bit tougher, but I have to admit I have a drawer full of plastic containers.
Speaking of Pyrex, just a fun fact, and please Google this for me, guys. I don't know whether this is true or not, and if Pyrex is watching, please tell us whether what I'm going to say is true or not.
Pyrex,
Yes,
not lowercase Pyrex,
or the other way around. Have you heard that?
I have. It was in the news a few weeks ago.
Really? So which one should we look for? The uppercase Pyrex or the lowercase Pyrex?
I think it's the lowercase.
I think it's the lowercase. Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, go on.
That is exactly what I was going to say.
I'm sorry to steal your thunder.
No, I didn't say that you produce this a lot of our segment more than I do. So I'm a talent. You're a producer. I'm actually worried you're going to claim the ownership of the show. Anyway,
I'm still the co-host. So I have a drawer full of plastic containers. But the one thing that I did do a couple of years ago was I went through all of my containers and I checked what kind of plastics they are. Now, if it has a written on it, then that's fantastic.
So what Stephen is talking about is that triangle. That is not recycle logo. That 1 is for PET, 2 is for HDPE, I think, and 3 is for PVC, and 4 is for LDPE, 5 for others, 6 for polystyrene, if I'm not mistaken, and 7 is polycarbonate, or 5 is polycarbonate. One of those things.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And if the product doesn't have a label on it, please don't use it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to. And then because so many of the plastics are actually labeled, you can find out what they are. And there are a whole lot of those types of plastics that you probably don't want to associate with food. So
And the more
polystyrene is a great example.
Yeah. The more flexible and pliable, this is a general rule of thumb, the more pliable and flexible the plastic is, usually you want to avoid because it means that it has a lot higher content of plasticizer, which usually is the one that is responsible to leach out all of its chemicals when it reaches higher temperature. And all of these microwave-safe plastic containers, they are being tested using water. So the way that microwave works, correct me if I'm wrong, the electromagnetic wave excites the water molecules, heat them up to a point where it heats up your food. The issue is that usually, most of the time, food is not only containing water, it also contains fats and oil. When that happens to fats and oil, it can go beyond 100 degrees Celsius. Heating water is self-limiting because it can only get to 100 degrees Celsius, otherwise it evaporates and everything. When it contains oil and fat, it can go up to 140, 150 degrees Celsius, and these containers are not designed for those high temperatures.
Often the microwave is not designed for that either.
That is correct. Yes, that is correct. And that's the reason why sometimes, I don't know if it has happened to you, it has happened to me, to us, usually around Christmas when you when you really overheat your microwave or overuse your microwave to reheat stuff, or in my case cooking rice. After a certain point, it will shut itself off. You would think that it's broken, and sometimes it is, but most of the time it just needs time to cool down before you can use it again.
Yep, there you go.
There you go.
So storage of foods that we've eaten. I think that there are some general rules. You really should, if you've cooked dinner and you sit down and you watch the latest episode of whatever TV show you're watching.
What are you watching at the moment?
At the moment, we're watching Prime Suspect, which is a Helen Mirren. It's super old,
Okay.
and we're really enjoying it.
This
It's
is the
a-
thing, when it comes to Helen Mirren, you really do not know whether it's an old series or movie or a new one, because I mean, speaking of being productive,
She's very good in
she's
Prime
very,
Suspect.
very good
I recommend it.
in everything, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
particularly in Red. I really liked her. Anyway,
Yeah.
Tangential. So if you've cooked your food, you've sat down, you've watched an episode of something, and the leftovers are still on the stove. So first of all, you should have put a lid on those leftovers. Don't leave it open to oxygenation. And in my house, don't leave it open for the cats. So a lid always goes on the top, even if it's still on the stove.
Yes.
But you really should put that food into the fridge
Within 2 hours.
within 2 hours
Yes.
is a good rule of thumb.
And always use clean utensils when you sort of kind of like have a taste, or when you nibble on your big batch of the food
Mhm.
something that you know that you will then put into containers for meal prep or for whatever reason, and then store in the fridge. Because I know that people might think, oh, it's because of the bacteria in our saliva or anything. Yes, but it's actually secondary to it. The first reason why you shouldn't do it is because of our enzyme in our saliva. When you introduce it into the food, however little it is, it actually can start a chain of reaction, like a domino effect, in accelerating the spoilage of the food, especially when it is carbohydrate rich, because the amylase enzyme in our saliva works pretty quickly, which is good for our digestive system, but not for the food that you want to store.
So Vince and I often have a glass of water next to what I'm cooking, and my tasting spoon, and every cook and chef will tell you should taste.
Yes,
as
as
you're
you go.
cooking.
Yes.
But the spoon goes back into the glass of water between tastes. Is that enough?
That is actually a really good idea. I might try that because when I'm cooking, so you have a tasting spoon and a glass of water. I have a section of a container in my drawers, in my silverware drawers, with just it's like teaspoon, but it's a long handled teaspoon. I have 12 of them, and usually I will use 6 or 8 in one setting when I'm cooking.
You definitely have a dishwasher.
Yes, yes. I mean, I know my people, the Asians, we don't believe in in dishwasher. I'm generalizing here, guys. I can say that I'm Asian, but I do believe in dishwasher. As a matter of fact, one of the Airbnb that I stay at when I went to the US just most recently didn't have a dishwasher, and I was beside myself. I was like,
to buy new things.
no, there's just an Airbnb. But you know what? It's not even a big deal, because the thing that because I was on the go at all times. So I was just eating out. The only thing that I need to wash is my coffee mugs.
Yep. The other interesting thing that you just brought up, though, is that dispersal of potential bad things. So you were saying the enzyme in our saliva, potentially can cause things to spoil. There is a massive debate in across all cookery about whether you should wash meat before you cook it,
and in particular chicken.
Now, I'm in the camp of not washing my chicken before I cook it, because chicken has a whole bunch of things on the skin of the chicken that you need to cook up to 65 degrees to kill.
Yes.
And no amount of washing is going to wash away salmonella.
Anyway, so why spread salmonella to...
That's my thinking.
I'm with you. As a matter of fact, I did hear this debate even just recently on Reels and on TikTok. There are certain there are not certain. There's several leading chefs who actually say that you should wash it. And I do think that perhaps they were talking in the sense and in the setting of commercial kitchen, where sections and stations are very well defined. When we talk about a home setting, especially
Mm.
if you have a limited space in the kitchen,
Yeah.
I really do believe that you shouldn't wash it. I also do agree with you that it is pointless to wash chicken and meat prior to cooking, because it wouldn't have done anything anyway. It has to be cooked to a certain degree. It's so funny that whenever it comes to internal temperature of cooked meat, I only use Fahrenheit, so it's 165 Fahrenheit. I don't know why, because I don't do Fahrenheit in my head, but perhaps this was the leftover from back in high school or back in
Yeah.
the university, where that's the thing that I remember. I also don't believe in cooking rice before. In washing rice before cooking rice.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think?
See, I'm a rice washer for sure. And I understand why a lot
I
of
like
people
the
don't.
starchiness.
Yeah, you like the starchiness. I think it depends a little bit on where you get your rice.
Okay.
So Australian brown rice, for example, I don't wash. There's actually not that much that comes off brown rice, Australian brown rice, when you wash it. But if you have a basmati or something like that, you will actually find that there is a lot of impurities that come off as during washing. It also cooks differently.
Yes, no, I agree when it comes to basmati rice, because I don't know if you know this chef. Her name is and excuse me if I pronounce it wrongly, Martha Joffrey.
Okay.
She is one of the leading and legendary Indian chef and Indian cuisine educator that I know of.
Mm.
And she always says that when it comes to basmati rice or Indian rice, they should be like brothers. They're stuck together. So they are close together, but the grains are not stuck together. And that's the reason why you should always wash basmati rice to take out all of the excessive starch to get that consistency or texture that they are.
You don't. There are lots of Indian rice dishes that you don't want the rice stuck together.
Yes. But in Indonesia, our standard of rice, like what Indonesian people consider good rice, is when it's slightly sticky. It's a little bit more like the Japanese sushi rice, the short grain rice.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why in our family, my mom will absolutely kill me that I say this, we don't wash our rice.
I think that there's more to discover around rice washing, but I think that we agree that you don't need to wash all rice.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's more to do with the outcome of the rice than whether the rice is dirty or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, when you made a really good point, impurities are very different. Like, you cannot cook out sand, for example. You need to remove it. So
Yeah.
that is one of the example where if it looks visibly dirty in a way that it has impurities, you should probably wash it. But when it comes to chicken and meat and everything, I really do think that, I mean, probably it's because we're very fortunate that we live in Australia, where the meat processing plant follows certain procedures. So the end product to us from the butcher or something, or the butcher probably have done a lot of work in terms of making sure that it's coming to us clean.
That's absolutely right. And the food safety controls within Australia as well, I think,
It's extremely good.
are very and quite strict as well. I thought it was interesting when I was looking up meat, for example. So the New South Wales Food Authority suggests that whole cuts of beef or lamb should be cooked to a centre temperature of 63 degrees, which I think most people would find as medium rare, something like that. But, I like my steaks blue.
Yes, that is... I mean, I have a lot of respect for people who do. Aside from steak tartare, I don't do.
See, and steak tartare, and particularly
So
if
blue
you're
and
in...
cold?
Well, no, it needs to be blue and room temperature at least.
Okay.
And there's probably a whole episode we could do about.
And that's not just
how to
because you're
create-
hungry.
No,
Okay, that is wow. I have
but see, the interesting thing about that though is that the outside of that steak, that blue steak, is seared. It should be golden, so not black, because black is burnt.
mhm.
But it should be golden. It needs to be seared and sealed. And so the argument might be that the inside of the steak, which is not necessarily being cooked but warmed, certainly not at 63 degrees, is still fine because it hasn't hit the air.
Yes, so it is still quote unquote sterile inside.
Yeah.
So you're sterilizing, for lack of better term, the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The same kind of discussion comes up when talking about seafood as well.
Yes. So this is the thing. I know that from the perspective of public health, they need to have a certain sort of kind of standard that everyone can follow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then that goes out of the window when you're talking about steak tartare, for example, or sashimi. It's a matter of fact that I've been told, and I've read this, that pregnant women in Japan, they still eat sushi and
shellfish.
sashimi and
Yeah.
shellfish and everything. And perhaps pregnant women in France would still eat soft cheese. Maybe, I don't know. But those are the things that maybe has a lot to do with the food regulation and standard in there in those specific countries more than just the not arbitrary, but like the regulation around the binary regulation, yes or no.
Yeah. Look, my belief is that it really does need to come down to personal choice as well.
You just have to know that there are risks
You
associated.
need to be aware.
Yeah.
Exactly. A very good friend of ours ate peanut butter all the way through her pregnancy. And 10 years ago, doctors would have said, never eat peanut butter while you're pregnant because you'll give a peanut allergy to your child.
Which is kind of counterintuitive, right?
Who knows why did that even become a thing?
The funniest thing is also about, I think, if my memory serves me right, I think it's 1998 when USDA allowed pork to be served pink before that it has to be cooked through.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the cooking show, Katie Mitchell. We happen to now be friends on LinkedIn. If you don't know Katie Mitchell, you need to look her up. She was the queen of infomercial. So in one of her tutorials, she said that and now you can eat pork pink. And I was like, whoa, now you can. I know it's funnier to me than to other people. But anyhow.
I actually think some of that might even be cultural as well.
Yeah.
It might be normal to eat certain foods cooked in a certain way in places. In Belgium, raw meat is very normal.
Okay.
Very, very normal. Horse actually is and raw horse, which I've never had, is also a thing.
Remember when IKEA got into trouble for mixing horsemeat into the meatballs?
Yeah, absolutely.
And not telling people, which is actually it has nothing to do with the safety, because in Indonesia, certain parts they eat horses too, horse meat. I mean, but yeah, again, I think you're absolutely right. I do believe that to a large extent, people can do whatever they want to do in terms of what they put into their body.
Yeah.
But at the very least, they should be aware of the risks associated with certain choices.
100% agree. Yeah, definitely. Seafood, shellfish, the last word for me. So when you're steaming mussels,
it has to open naturally.
Okay.
Is it not?
Well, I really like mussels.
So what?
I don't want to waste mussels. If the shell is cracked, I throw them.
Okay.
But after steaming mussels for 5 or 8 minutes, and the majority of them have opened, if I need to pry open another couple, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I found out 2 different things, 3 now that just from this one episode. Like, I mean, seriously, guys, if you miss the live show, you miss a lot. Last thing before, because we're clicking over to the 50-minute point, but I do want to talk about non-stick pan.
Yes.
I used to use a lot of cast iron pan and pots, but now I have switched to stainless steel.
Yep.
It's just so much easier, and I don't feel like I have to engage over muscles when I'm cooking. What's your take?
I'm stainless steel as well. So I used in my past cooking, I've used a lot of different materials.
Non-stick, perhaps?
Some non-stick. I've used some of those evil non-stick ones that they get too hot and then they start delaminating.
Yeah.
And you find bits of non-stick in your food and you then throw that pot away. I think that in the same way that I've suggested investing in some good knives is a good thing. A good knife will last you 25, 30 years. And I think the same of pots as well. So a good stainless steel pot. I've quite recently replaced all of my non-stick or infused, or there's always a new pan that's supposed to be better for you. But it's just simple.
They contain forever chemical, guys. This is something that if you want to invest money in, give yourself a birthday present or a Christmas present, a new set of pots and pans and knives. And whilst I remember when we were talking about knives, I forgot to add it before just now that I like a wooden handle knives. I feel that it's softer on my hand. However, never put. Well, you shouldn't put knives in the dishwasher anyway, but especially when it's wooden handle.
Absolutely, because the wood will change,
crack, and it will dull your knives. And the same way, don't pour cold water or just put like your hot pans into the sink and pour it with cold water. Number one, it is a safety issue. Number two, just with anything, the sudden increase in temperature and decrease in temperature make the material expand and contract, and that can shorten the lifespan of your material. Like, I do believe that when you spend good money and invest money in good cookware, I feel that you're also motivated to look after it instead of buying a $10 pan. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that if you, instead of buying yourself a bottle of perfume for Christmas or your birthday, this is something that you use every day. And I don't know about you, but it's cost per wear for me. So or cost per use, if you use it every day, might as well make your life easier and healthier.
Yeah. I also, I really like a pan that can go in the oven as well.
Yes. Hands stainless steel and cast iron, because first of all, a lot of my weekdays recipe is a one pot or one pan recipe, and it can go into the oven and it can be ready when you're ready.
Excellent.
On that note,
we are getting pretty close to our end. So just to sum up,
yes,
don't wash chicken.
You may or may not wash your rice.
Don't wash rice. Yep.
You may or may not wash your rice.
Make sure that you have sharp knives
and good pan and pots.
One that we didn't cover was defrosting meat. I just wanted to throw that in. Please do not defrost anything just on the bench
or out in the sun,
or definitely not in the sun,
and preferably not in the microwave. Like, please don't destroy your expensive cut of meat that you buy in bulk because it's cheaper, and you portion it, put it in the refrigerator. Plan ahead. I mean,
microwaves are good for popcorn. I'm a big fan of microwave popcorn.
Or instant noodle.
When you've cooked something, within 2 hours, get it into hopefully a glass container, but into the fridge. It's that less than 5 degrees that really, really makes a big difference.
Especially if it's chicken-based dish.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe lower the heat a bit for your vegetables so you don't burn them. Use the right type of oil.
Use the right type of oil, and as much as possible, I know that this sounds a little bit preachy now, make a salad. Certain vegetables are hardier and more suitable for longer cooking, like kale, for example, or collard greens. Or
massage your kale, by the way. Anyone who doesn't like kale, spend 5 minutes massaging it.
Yep.
like really get into it. Like it's a
and 20-second bursts in the microwave. That I found it really, really helpful. But aside from that, if you have like really nice lettuce, I mean, I'm not at all a gardener, but growing my own lettuce gives me a lot more appreciation to this green leafy vegetable. So all in all, we can't control a lot of things in life. I mean, look at the past 3 weeks in headlines, right? But I do believe that we still have authority and control in terms of what we put into our body. And I do know that sometimes it's really hard to do that. You're time pressed. We need to tighten budget and stuff like that. But what I find is that when we plan ahead and if we make it our daily habit, it makes it easier. And in time, once you learn how to meal prep in the right way or in the smart way, you can actually save money, because when you are in a hurry, you probably spend $20 to $25 on like a very ordinary sandwich for lunch in the CBD. So in the long run, you do save money. Anyway, don't come at us if you disagree with anything. I mean, when it comes to food, you do you, right? But like what Stephen really, really smartly said, that you need to know. After you know, if you make the decision that you want to make, then more power to you.
stay curious, stay informed.
And stay updated with everything after hours. On that note, I'm Dr. Vincent.
And I am Stephen. Lovely to have everyone on the podcast this week.
See you on the other side. Bye-bye.